everybody to our webinar on Teacher Degree Apprenticeships for National Apprenticeship Week on behalf of De Montfort University. My name is Julie Summers. I am the Programme Leader at De Montfort University and a Senior Lecturer in Education Studies. So I have overall responsibility for setting up, managing and running this programme, but I will introduce you to the rest of the team, all of whom are going to be able to answer your questions today and are going to take part in the presentation we've got. So first of all, I'll introduce you to my colleague at De Montfort University, Rachel Rounsfield.
Hello.
And then to my colleague at the Mead Educational Trust. So she's working with us on behalf of Leicester and Leicestershire Skit, our teacher training partners, Sarah McAdam.
Hi there, thanks Julie. Yes, representing Leicester and Leicestershire Skit today, thank you.
And I will introduce you to our Business Development Manager. We've got Stephen Kelly.
Hi everybody.
And then we are also really lucky to have with us one of our current Teaching Degree Apprenticeships, apprentices, who has just started with us. She started in September, so she's in her first year. And she's at Rolleston Primary School in Leicester, and she's joining us with the head teacher of her school. So we've got Lily Del Grosso and Mark Durkin. And we will be we will be talking to Lily and Mark a little bit later on, getting their perspectives on the Teacher Degree Apprenticeship, both from the student point of view and from the employer point of view at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. Okay, so the Teacher Degree Apprenticeship at De Montfort University. We are at the moment one of the only universities in the country to be offering a Teacher Degree Apprenticeship, and specifically one of only 3 providers who are offering a Teacher Degree Apprenticeship in primary education at the moment. So this is a degree qualification, a level 6 qualification in education studies with qualified teacher status. Thank you. So these are the people I've introduced you to. There's a couple of extra names on this list of people who are integral to the development and to the running of this programme. So we've got Claire Hearn-Palmer, who isn't with us today, but she is a very important part of the team. She is the director of the Leicester and Leicestershire Skit, who are an outstanding ITT provider. And we also have Talitha Bird. She, on the DMU side of things, is the head of division for education, and everybody else you've been introduced to. Okay, so our programme vision. This was a really, really important part of the development of the TDA, and this vision really represents our collaborative view from the SKIT perspective and from the DMU perspective. So I've put in bold of some of the key things that we really believe in and that we really try to put into this programme. So we really believe in the personal development of the individuals that we have on the programme. We strongly believe in creativity and collaboration between us and with our partner schools as well. And obviously all the approaches that we advocate are evidence-based teaching and learning approaches. The idea is that we'd like to empower students and in many cases empower students who wouldn't normally have seen themselves as being higher education students or as becoming teachers, and allow them to sort of see their own career path through education. Our degree programme, and very much aligned with Leicester and Leicestershire Skit with this, is very focused on social justice and inclusion, and that is a thread that runs right the way through our programme. And we are strong believers in the value of obviously practical experience, hence the apprenticeship. And we are really striving to achieve sector recognition with what we're doing. We know that what we're doing is pioneering, and we think we've got a good programme that we've put together. Thank you. Okay, so what is an TDA, Sarah?
Thank you, Julie. So it's a level 6 apprenticeship, and you learn to teach whilst you're on the job. So you're studying for a degree and studying to train to teach. You end the programme, the 4-year programme, with an Education Studies BA Honours degree from DMU and qualified teacher status as a primary school teacher with the Skit. It's 4 years, and you'll spend 60% of your time in school during those 4 years, and then 40% studying at DMU, and those are face-to-face sessions. You come over to the university and study during the 4 years, and that's for 2 days a week. There are no tuition fees or maintenance loans, and that's the most exciting part of this programme, we think. You don't end up with student debt. Your tuition fees are paid for through the levy, the apprenticeship levy, and you earn a salary. So you're paid, and I can see there's been a question about that already, you're paid as an unqualified teacher. It's an unqualified teacher's salary in line with your employing school's pay structure. Assessment is through various strategies. I think we talk about assessment in a bit more detail later on, but you have to pass all your academic modules and you have to satisfy the teacher apprenticeship standard, and that's identical to the teacher standards. So overall, you're learning to teach through that hands-on experience in school as an employee and as an undergraduate at De Montfort University. And an apprentice then, it's someone who aspires to become a qualified teacher and does not already have an undergraduate degree or a level 6 qualification. If you're in this meeting today and you do already have an undergraduate degree, you can feel free to contact the Leicester and Leicestershire Skip, because we do offer that 1-year postgraduate teacher training route. But if you don't have a degree already, then this apprenticeship route could be perfect for you. You need to be currently working in a school. And that's been a bit of a stumbling block for some people who want this apprenticeship. And what we're saying is, if you're not already working in a school, we encourage you to gain employment in a school, perhaps as a teaching assistant or a support member of staff, or to initially do some voluntary work and build a relationship with the school. Because what we found from our apprentices this year is that they've been recognised by their employee as somebody who could really, gain this qualification. They've seen potential in somebody. So you do need to have paid employment and a commitment for your employer before you can apply for this route into teaching. It's definitely someone the school wants to invest in, and it's someone who can commit to that full-time 4-year programme of study. So you need to commit to be able to teach in school for 3 days a week and do your academic study at the same time to gain your degree. You're paid while you study, and you've got to commit to working in that school. So we're finding it's a real two-way relationship where the apprentice is prepared to commit and the school is prepared to commit to that person. You have to attend an alternative placement as part of the programme for 6 weeks in year 4. Julie, nod at me. Yes, I think year 4 of the programme. And you will be very much supported by everyone around you. So you'll have a mentor, you've got an academic mentor at the university, you're part of the university, so you get access to all those student services, and you'll have all sorts of support from your employment school as well. Thank you. And we've been describing this opportunity to employers as, well, just as that, as an incredible opportunity. We've been trying to say to them, you'll be future thinking schools, you'll be part of the very first cohort or the early cohorts now of this programme. So you'll be supporting a talented and dedicated member of your team to become a primary school teacher, somebody who might not otherwise have had the opportunity to gain an undergraduate degree. So we've got somebody on the programme at the moment who's in their 50s, and they've been working in school for many years and they have not had this opportunity before now. So it's an incredible range of people that we're seeing. You will be creating a clear pathway within your school or multi-academy trust. So if you're here this afternoon as an employer, you can create a clear pathway for somebody. You'll be able to offer professional development, mentoring opportunities for existing teachers in your school. We're finding that the mentors are getting wonderful opportunities as well, supporting the apprentices. You're guaranteed this homegrown apprentice teacher for that minimum of 4 years. They can gradually take on more and more responsibility and provide consistency for your team and the pupils. And you'll have those really strong professional links between the SCIT and DMU. And we're working really beautifully together. We're finding that these professional links are really benefiting everybody. And then, of course, to reiterate that the apprenticeship levy covers all your apprenticeship tuition fees. But there's just a little point there to add that we'll be asking employing schools probably to commit to that apprentice for 6 years. It seems like such a long time, doesn't it? 4 years of studying, but then 2 years as that post-QTS ECT period, so the statutory early career teacher period that you need to add on once you're qualified as a teacher. Okay, enough detail there from me probably. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks very much, Sarah. So this is over to me now to explain a little bit about how the programme is structured and how the 4 years look. So this is our curriculum as it stands at the moment. It is slightly subject to change because we obviously modify things depending on the feedback we get and as we kind of modify our modules, but this is basically what we intend to include in it. So De Montfort University is unlike other universities in that we deliver our modules through something called block teaching. This means that we deliver one module at a time, so you concentrate on one topic at a time over 6 weeks. During those 6 weeks, you'll have workshops on 2 consecutive days a week, and you will have lots and lots of opportunity for collaboration and discussion, and there'll be set reading and tasks and things to prepare before you come to those workshops. The 7th week of each block is an assessment week. I'll say a little bit more about assessment in just a minute. Then there's a week's break, and then you go into the next block. So that is repeated 4 times each year. So there are 4 blocks in each year. Each block, each assessment is worth 30 credits. So each year is worth 120 credits. So this follows our BA Education Studies programme until we get to year 3. Because of the demands of QTS and the input we need to have from our partners at SCIT in terms of the actual pedagogical practice, then we have split the final year of the degree, so year 3, into 2. So you'll see that in year 3 and 4, you actually only cover 2 modules in each of those years. All we've done is you've got 60 credits in each of those years instead of 120 credits just in the 3-year degree programme. In terms of the modules themselves, we've selected modules that we think are of particular relevance to teacher apprentices, but we have tried to leave some element of choice in there. You'll see that in year 2 in block 3, there is 3 different modules that can be selected depending on the apprentice's particular interests, and the same in year 3 in block 3. There's also some choice there. The university term starts usually right at the end of September or the beginning of October. Now, schools, particularly in Leicestershire, usually go back at the end of August. So you would begin your year as an apprentice in your school. You wouldn't be coming out for the 2 days a week to DMU. We let you find your feet, you get really stuck into school. You will have some days out at SCIT to get to know some of your other colleagues and to get some initial input from the SCIT team. But it's a nice gentle introduction, very much focused on your school practice, getting to know your class, getting to know everything like that. The university year actually ends in the end of May or early June. So the same thing happens at the end of the year. You go back into school where you're spending most of your time with some days out at the SCIT, focused on your teaching. Okay. You get the same holidays that you would get in terms of the winter break and the Easter break. Half terms aren't quite the same, they don't quite coincide, but you do get your half term from school, but you'd still be at DMU. But then DMU gives you a week off in between blocks, so you would gain some days back then as well. So all in all, we think it works out, and our apprentices so far have found that totally manageable. In terms of the what you cover, I'm not going to go through all the different blocks, but basically we cover the foundations of the degree in year 1, which is why there is no optionality there. Education studies as itself is an interdisciplinary social science subject, so that means there are elements of sociology, there are elements of psychology, philosophy, politics. It touches upon lots of different things. So in that first year, the blocks are designed to give you the foundations, give you the theories, get you thinking about education critically, drawing upon all those different points of view. We think that's really important that we've got our module 3 on childhood, social justice and education. That's really, really important to our degree course, and equally starting our students thinking about inclusion and diversity. At the beginning of year 2, we have a new module which we're going to be introducing next year, specifically for our Teaching Degree Apprentices. It hasn't got an actual name yet, but it is going to be a work-based module which will be around reflection on practice with tasks that need to be done. So the beginning of year 2 will be much more based in schools with input and days out at De Montfort University to guide the academic reflection side of things. In terms of assessment, in those that 7th week at the end of every block, we don't believe in exams. You will never sit in an exam hall at the end of the year and be tested on everything that you've supposedly learnt. That goes against our entire philosophy of what we think good education looks like. It goes against what the studies and academic evidence has told us about learning. So we offer a range of different assessments. So every module will be assessed in a slightly different way. Sometimes there'll be a presentation. Sometimes there will be a micro teach, sometimes there'll be an essay, sometimes it'll be a portfolio, sometimes it'll be something that you've actually made, an artifact that you will then kind of comment on. So there's lots and lots of different opportunities to demonstrate your learning and understanding in different ways throughout the degree course. You will notice as well that we have at the top of the screen something called QTS Readiness 1 and QTS Readiness 2. Now, these are the preparation years for doing your teacher training, the actual QTS content, which will be in years 3 and 4. This means you're getting lots and lots of formative, constructive, informal feedback throughout the entire year. And this is logged and recorded on some software that we use called PebblePad, and will be given by your mentor and also by regular visits from the SCIT team into your schools to observe your teaching and to talk with you and your mentor. And the same happens in the 2nd year as well. And then you start the QTS content properly when you go into years 3 and 4, and you can see much more time is dedicated to that, those blocks that are in kind of beigey pink colour. In terms of how much the apprentice teaches at different stages of the programme, is very much it's at the discretion of the school. It's flexible because we know that our apprentices come to us with lots of different kinds of experience. So some people will come into the degree course with very little experience. And when we talk to Lily later, she might talk about her background. And then we have some, as Sarah mentioned earlier, who have perhaps 20 years experience as an HLTA, who are very comfortable in some aspects of classroom teaching, who can take on a lot more teaching more quickly. So we give guidelines, but we don't set anything in stone until we meet our apprentices, meet with their mentors, and we come up with a programme that will suit them individually. I think that's everything on that slide. It's over to Rachel now.
Thank you very much. So let's get a little bit practical about how does it work, when do you have to come to DMU, all that kind of thing. So we've talked a bit already, Sarah's talked a bit already about the fact that you will be contracted, you will be employed by your school on a full-time contract, and you're expected to come into DMU or to the SCIT for around about 40% of your time across the 4 years of the apprenticeship. In practical terms, that works out for the DMU aspects for 2 days per week. So that can be a Monday and Tuesday, or it can be a Thursday and Friday. We have a big cohort in the education studies cohort, so we are able to deliver most things both on a Monday and Tuesday or on a Thursday and Friday. The other days that you are not in DMU, you will be working in school with your PPA time built in. The way in which we run our workshops and our seminars in education studies is very family friendly, is very travel friendly. So we very rarely start before 10 a.m. with our workshops, and we generally finish by 3. There are some modules with some aspects where we might start at 9 or we might finish at 4, but generally that's the shape of the workshops that are delivered. And on your second day at DMU, we generally have a 3-hour morning workshop with your afternoon used to dedicate to your reading, go to the library, do some of the group work or the pre-workshop tasks that we ask you to do. So that's the sort of shape of your time when you're at DMU. And in general, that's for 24 weeks, so for university term times. At other times, as Julie said earlier, you will be in your school teaching and doing the things that you're doing full-time with your school. And so that gives, as Julie has said, quite a good range of time when you're not in university and not with the skit to be really embedding some of those skills and so some of that development in school. Okay, I think that's all on that slide. If you want to give me the next one, please. Okay, the way in which you are supported, and again, Sarah and Julie have referred to this, so I maybe won't do all these points in detail, but the way we support you is that you will have an academic mentor at DMU, and you will have a school mentor in school. You will also have a support person in the skit, and we come out and between us and across the team, we come out and look at review your progress on an 8 to 12 weekly basis. So we will come out, we will observe you teaching, we will have conversations with yourself and your mentor about how things are going. And that's very much not just about saying, right, we're judging how you're getting on. It's also about saying, you know, what do you need to support you? What do you need to get to the next step? What targets are you being set? And how is everybody helping you to reach those? Okay, what else do we have here? The other thing I would say, and I always say this in these webinars, is that DMU really is second to none for student support. And you will be entitled to all that student support. So, you know, we have incredible well-being services. We have excellent services in terms of academic and library support. So if you're not used to writing academically, if you're not used to, you know, researching and doing those things, there are all sorts of programs and projects which will support you to do that. And our current cohort of apprentices are really finding that very, very useful. I think that's all of those on that slide, is it? Yeah.
This is you, Sarah.
Yes, apologies. I was muted. So support for mentors then. Rachel was just saying you'll have a mentor within your school, and you will have access to all sorts of support for that role of mentoring, a wealth of information, including all the forms that we ask of you to use, training from the skit team. We are going to do a late summer term induction online for you to join us with join us as a pair, apprentice and a mentor. Orientation days for you to get to know each other across the cohort of apprentices, but also to understand the paperwork that's required of you, the platforms that you need to get used to using. And you know, there's a lot to understand in the early stages, so we try and support you as much as we possibly can to settle you in and make sure that's straightforward. You'll be meeting at Rushmead, which is where the skit is sometimes based. You might sometimes be meeting at Abbeymead, another location that we have as a training centre for the skit. We'll be doing joint observations with your mentor, as we've said. So again, that's a brilliant opportunity for your mentors to get professional development. We'll support you with the writing of the reports. We'll support you with the moderation meetings, lots of training materials, resources. We provide training videos for you, so that everything that you need will be provided for you.
Okay, so there are some questions I think already in the chat about some of this, and it's pretty important information for particularly for potential apprentices. So in terms of admissions, you need to meet some criteria to be eligible for this apprenticeship. You need to have been a resident of England for the last 3 years or more. You need to not already hold an undergraduate degree. And you need, and this is probably the most important one, you need to have a secure role at a primary school. That role may not be an unqualified teacher at this moment in time. You may be employed as a TA or as a mentor or some other kind of support role. That's fine. But when you start on the apprenticeship, then you would be expected to be employed as an unqualified teacher. And we can talk to you and your employers about that in more detail. In terms of the academic requirements that we expect for an apprentice, you must have GCSEs at grade 4 or a C or above in English, maths and science, and that's to link with the teaching for primary education. Now, we do insist that you come and you start with us with an English, with that qualification in English, and part of the reason for that is because this is an academic degree. Although we have lots of ways of assessing you, you will need to be able to utilize your English language skills and your writing skills to work at a higher education at a degree level. So we do expect you to start with that. However, if you do not quite have a GCSE grade 4 or C or above in maths or science, we expect you to have that by the end of year 2. So which is the point at which then your QTS proper, if you like, will begin. So we need you to have that. Also, there are some equivalency options if you already have things like functional skills, but not quite the equivalent GCSE grade. So we can talk to you about that in more detail if you have those issues as well. On the level 3 or UCAS side of things, you don't come through UCAS to apply for this apprenticeship, but we do expect 104 UCAS points. So we still look at your qualifications against UCAS admissions tariffs. So we expect 104 points. Now that might come from A levels, it might come from T levels, it might come from BTEC or national or extended diplomas, etc. It might come from level 3 apprenticeships that you might already have been part of, and they have just on the UCAS tariff tables, they have just this year introduced points for that. So don't panic if you see one of those and you think, oh, I haven't got A levels or I haven't got T levels. You may well have level 3 qualifications that do count. There are some alternative qualifications in terms of access qualifications that we will also look at and take the points from. But we also will always look at recognition of prior learning. We can also make something called a contextual offer. So if you have lots and lots and lots of experience and you've been doing this or something like this job for a long time, we will take that into account when we balance that against what points you have on the UCAS tariff. So again, it's worth asking us if you're concerned about that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. In red at the top here is kind of a thing we get asked all the time. And much as we would love to be able to say, yes, we've got a whole list of schools that are looking for apprentices and here they are, it is your responsibility. It is the applicant's responsibility to ensure that they have an employing school. We are always, as the TDA team, willing to talk to employers and to schools. We're always willing to meet with both of you to see what needs to happen and what the eligibility criteria are there. But it is your responsibility to come to us with an employing school. We will require you to attend an interview, and that will be members of the TDA team who will interview you and talk to you about whether this is a suitable route for you in the pathway and whether you do meet the criteria. Once you've been interviewed, then there are various sort of school-based discussions that we need to have, and I'm sure Stephen will talk about those a little bit later. And then you will be made an offer. We do also expect you to apply for a new enhanced DBS certificate and register for the update service.
So just to conclude this presentation, which I know is a lot of information, I think coming back to the essential, the core point of all of this is that the apprentice is at the centre of something and is supported in 3 different areas by a team that are in constant communication. They're not isolated. They're not just working with one team at a time who don't know each other and don't talk to each other. So you've got the ITT team at SCIT. We're in constant communication with each other with the DMU academic team. We do progress reviews together, and we're also in touch with your mentors. We know all the mentors. We've been into schools, we've met them. So really there's constant communication. The support is really 360 degrees around the apprentice, who is at the centre of everything. So this final slide just gives you a few bits of extra information and some signposting on where to find out more. We do have a webpage which we update regularly. So that's Teaching Degree Apprenticeship in Primary Education. On that webpage, there is a direct link to the portal where you apply for this course. I've put the code there as well. So gov.uk, it's a DFE application portal. Please don't apply to that until you've got your school confirmed. That's all we would say. When you do apply, we will receive notification that you've applied, and we will send you straight back an email asking you to fill in a form, filling in your school details, where your school is, who we can contact, and that will be then taken forwarded to Stephen, our business development manager, and he will then get in contact with the school and talk about the eligibility requirements with them. If you do have any questions, if you are a school listening and you want to know about the eligibility, do put a question in the chat, because Stephen is here to answer those. We have an email admin inbox which Rachel and I monitor daily, so tdaadmin@dmu.ac.uk. If you're not sure whether you have the right qualifications, or if you want to ask something that we haven't covered or that occurs to you later, just drop us an email. We'll get back to you very quickly. We do have an online open evening coming up in March. It'll be very similar to the information we've given here, but if you want a refresher, or if you think of some questions you want to ask us face to face or over the internet online, then you can come to that. And there is also a De Montfort University Open Day on Saturday, the 21st of March, and there will be one of us from the Teaching Degree Apprenticeship there, and there will be representatives from the Education Studies Department who can fill you in on all things to do with the degree side of things as well. So that's the conclusion, and really we're opening now the discussion up to any questions you might have, and then we will invite Lily and her head teacher to the screen, and we'll do a little bit of an interview with them. Do we want to do the interview with Lily and with Mark first? Yeah? Okay. Right, let's do that then. So I'm going to start with you, Lily, if you want to unmute yourself. So Lily, obviously you are one of our younger apprentices. I hope you don't mind me saying that. So yeah. Lily has only recently turned 20. So can you just describe your kind of entrance into the TDA programme, how that worked for you?
Yeah, so I finished my A-levels at the end of 2024, and at the time Ralston was hiring a level 3 apprentice. So I went for that and I got the job. So I worked at Ralston for only a year before we found the TDA, and then I brought it to Mark and the other SLT at Ralston, and they've just supported me really since the beginning, since I started my level 3, and I explained to them that I really wanted to be a teacher, and ever since then they've really supported me up until now, really.
And what made you choose the TDA route into teaching rather than doing a degree and then postgraduate qualification?
Yeah, so I have always wanted to be a teacher, as I said, but I wanted to have some experience in a school first before I did go to uni, and I just fell in love with working in the school. And
you don't have to say that.
She says it all the time. I know that's true.
So when it got about halfway through last academic year, and I was thinking about uni, because I was still wanting to be a teacher, and that's when I found the TDA. And for me it was just the answer to everything, because I got to stay in school and continue working somewhere I love, but also get my academic study and my degree and also my teacher training all together. And with the 3 interlinked, I feel like the development and the process was just really appealing to me, and that's why I chose the TDA route.
Okay, thank you. And how have you benefited from the programme so far, do you think? What skills have you gained? What impact has this had in the classroom?
Yeah, so with SKIP, we really focus on how you apply your feedback and being a reflective practitioner. And every piece of feedback I get from my mentor, I've really learned how to really take that on board and apply it to my teaching, because it's just to better myself, really. So I think since September, I've really developed my reflective skills and how to reflect on my practice. And then with uni, we obviously learn a lot of theory, which we learn things that I'm like, oh, that's why we do that at school. So in block 1 we did stuff about the national curriculum and how that all came about. And then when I was at school, I was like, oh, so that's why we teach this in history and this in English. And it really has just helped join the bridges between theory and then obviously my practice at work together. And it's just been really great to learn that.
That's brilliant. Okay. And so how do you find balancing work with your study and with CPD, professional development that you do in school and everything else? How are you finding that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the beginning I was quite prepared to take on the workload, because we've had this conversation before, Julie, where if you really wanted it, so you know kind of what to expect. But I think it's really been a good time to develop my time management and to stay organised, because there is a lot of work to do, but it doesn't become overbearing if you do have that good routine and you are organised and you know when you're going to do certain things and you've got certain time to do things. So I would say that you do need to be organised, but it's not overbearing. And a way that I do this is saying, oh, I have in my PPA time, I'll get my school stuff done. So I'll plan my lessons, I'll fill in my PDR as well, which is another part of what we do with SKIT. And then with my uni stuff, we have time on a Tuesday. I go to uni on a Monday and a Tuesday. We have that 3-hour self-directed study period on a Tuesday, where I will do my pre-tasks and watching my lectures for uni. So it does go down to organisation, but I'm at a good point where I'm managing that now.
Yeah, that's really good to hear you say, and I think that's the same for all the apprentices. At the beginning, they had to work
definitely
out the routine and try to balance everything, but certainly by Christmas time, everybody seemed to be, have fallen into that, and they were in their stride, kind of managing everything. How has your employer benefited from you joining the course, do you think?
I think they have benefited because they are really fostering me and teaching me how to teach in a way that aligns with the school's values, and they really are creating like a homegrown teacher who is learning from like the best teachers in the school, really how to develop my own practice. And I think being able to do that is good for the school, to all the new ideas that they have. I'm there and I'm with them, and I'm learning with the school, and I think that's a really good thing for the school to have.
And finally, and a very important question, what would your advice be to future applicants? Is there anything you wish you'd known this time last year?
I think the main thing is that element of organisation and being on it, and because that's the reality of being a teacher as well. You've got to be organised and have good time management when you've got planning to do and marking to do. So if anything, it's not overbearing, it's of the preparation of what your career is going to be after you complete the TDA. And I think just enjoy it, because it's something that I know I really wanted. And when I got it, I was really excited, and now it's just to enjoy it and do the best I can by working hard.
Thank you so much, Lily. I think Sarah now has some questions for Mark.
Oh, Lily, it was such a pleasure to hear you answer those questions. Thanks ever so much. Yeah, coming to you, Mark.
Hello, Sarah.
Hiya. So what made you choose De Montfort University and the Leicester and Leicestershire SKIT as the delivery partner to support Lily?
So we've used other delivery partners in the past. We like our homegrown teachers. In a school like ours, we do. It can be quite challenging, so we want people who are going to have a bit of grit. But what was really powerful about this is that the fact that Lily came to us with you. What I really liked about that was the fact that, one, it showed that Lily was very proactive, and if you want someone who's going to bleed for the school and work really hard at the same time as really push their own career, it just made a lot of sense. It aligned nicely. Then when we explored more about it, because we sat on this seminar last year, or my deputy in particular, and actually it was very clear that it offered what previous courses that we've done have got, and that little bit more, because again, the emphasis upon the applicant to seek that, it was just another level of it was quite powerful. So yeah, that was one of the main points for it, to be fair.
Yeah, great. And would you say it's made a difference to your workforce so far? What difference would you say the TDA's made?
Obviously, fresh blood, very young.
Early days, early stages.
Keep people on the toes as well, because actually Lily's a natural teacher. I'm going to be very honest. I've said that to you. She's very good. She's very hard working. But again, I think that comes with the application process in itself. People who want to be a teacher, but also really are going to be proactive and look for the school themselves. That's what we've got with Lily. It does, when you've got a workforce as well who are working and developing a new member of staff, it keeps them reflective, and that essentially allows me to grow leaders in the school. Perhaps people who wouldn't necessarily think, well, I can work and mentor and coach somebody, and now they are, and there's your key skill for leadership. So in the future, it's only going to grow the other staff. And I've always found working with new teachers essential for my own professional development. So it's given the opportunity to the teachers now helps them.
Yeah, everybody gains. I think, yeah, I totally agree with you there. So from an employer perspective then, what would you say are the biggest benefits of the apprenticeship model?
The plenty of school experience is definitely one of the key things. I think by the time it's done, Lily's going to go away and she's going to be ready to teach. And already you can see, you know, you do I did a PGCE. It was, don't get me wrong, it was a good PGCE. Be careful. But at the same time, you know, you get out of it and then bang, you're straight in class. You know, when you finish that, this just seems to give you that kind of the natural progression. You know, that it's a long old course, but at the same time, she's going to come out of it ready to take a class and actually ready to be a teacher. She's already doing massive chunks of it immediately. She's 19 and she's already taking classes. That's fantastic, and that's just going to develop her as a practitioner going forward. What else we got? You know, working with someone who's proactive. Again, I got to come back to this because, and one thing I will say is a challenge for people. You know, you've got, like I said, you've got strong teachers. You've grown them at a homegrown base, and in a school like ours, we need strong teachers. That's why we've always tried to grow around this model. It's a slower process. It's not a baptism by fire. It feels more balanced. The organization's still going to be there, like Lily said. Still going to have to work hard on that. But at least she's got that support from the university often as well, regular and often.
And you spotted her potential pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean, she came when she applied for the initial apprenticeship. She came saying, you know, I want to be a teacher. It's like, okay, this is an 18-year-old, knows where she's going with this, and in the apprenticeship, she's crushed it. She's done very, very well, and then to move on to I now want to be a teacher, very driven. And that's good. Making sure she balances that though. Make sure she can remember to be a bit foolish and have a few hobbies.
That's nice advice. What would you say then, Mark, to another school or organisation considering the TDA, considering supporting someone on this route?
Do it, but do it for the right reasons. This isn't a cheap alternative for a teacher in front of the children. That's not what this is. It actually requires investments. You know, you've got a teacher who has to work with someone, a mentor who goes with someone, and you've got the time itself. And obviously towards the end of it, she'll have her own class, she'll be taking those groups, but actually it requires a lot of manpower and support. So be aware of it, but do it. And I'd suggest do it because you get what you get out of it, what you're going to put into it. You know, we're going to invest in somebody, we're going to invest in somebody and get from that a really good teacher. And at the same time, as I said earlier, develop the leaders who are working with her. So go for it. This one's a good supportive program. Again, whilst you have got someone working alongside an experienced teacher, that frees up that teacher to work with intervention groups when needed, and develop that and reflect on their own practice. There's lots of benefits to it. Something I would recommend it, but as an experience we've always had, it does work. But this program in particular, it's nice and balanced because it's spread out.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. And then one final question. Would you consider taking on more teacher degree apprentices in the future, and why?
Yes, as I said, proven model, and Lily's proven it again, to be fair. The fact that when you've got someone, as she said, you've got someone who aligns with your goals of your school, who will bleed for your school, essentially, that's what you're looking for, a long-term investment of training somebody who's ready to be, for us, to be Ralston. And when they're Ralston ready, that's good. Sometimes you feel like you're taking a bit of a chance when it comes to employing, and sometimes you can't appoint anyway. This kind of future proofs us in the future, because at some point we know a teacher will move on, and what we're going to have is a teacher ready to step into that position. She's getting job security, we're getting position security, and we're getting someone who's going to hit the ground running at the point when we will have not if but when we need it.
Oh, Mark, it's really fascinating to hear from you. Thanks so much for answering a few questions. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark and Lily. Great advocates for everything so far. So thank you so much for that. So now we've got everybody on the screen. So we've got Stephen as well, who can answer any questions you might have if you're an employer, wondering what we mean by employer eligibility. If you've got any questions about the apprenticeship levy and how that all works, then Stephen's here to answer those kind of questions for you as well. And I will just field the questions to members of the team, I think, who are best placed to answer them. So if I don't have a science GCSE, is there a possibility I could do it whilst doing the teaching apprenticeship course? I can take that one. Yes, there is. The only GCSE that we absolutely definitely require from the very outset is your English GCSE at grade 4 or C or above. You can take the science GCSE and or the maths GCSE whilst you're studying for the course, but you have to pass these by the end of year 2 when you start the proper QTS programme. And we can recommend, I don't know if Rachel mentioned this, we can recommend people who can, providers of those GCSEs and GCSE equivalency tests and all sorts of things like that for you. As this gives you QTS, can you then later go on to teach in high schools? I think that's one for you, Sarah.
Yes, I mean, officially, yes, you would have that qualification that allows you to teach. However, this is a primary teacher degree apprenticeship. So I have known people over the years switch from primary to secondary. But my advice would probably be, having qualified for 4 years in a primary school, that you would start in primary education and then perhaps apply for a job in a secondary school based on some experience then, and you never know, but it does qualify you to teach in primary schools. However, wouldn't exclude that, but you'd need to persuade a school to employ you. Would you say that's correct, Julie?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's fairly unusual, but I mean, everybody's known somebody that's done that, I think. I think probably it's a good point to mention, though, if it is actually secondary school teaching that you're interested in, we are, as we speak, putting a programme together for a secondary teacher degree apprenticeship, which we are, fingers crossed, going to be launching for our first intake in September. So do speak more to us about that if that's what interests you. So the pay varies between the school you're doing your apprenticeship with. Not exactly. Rachel, do you mind answering this one?
No, that's fine. So yeah, basically, I think this is an extension of that question about unqualified teacher rate. So your school is expected to pay you at unqualified teacher rate whilst you're on the apprenticeship, but the where you are on that and the fact that it's your employer, that your payment is down to them. So it doesn't vary. That there is a standard unqualified teacher rate of pay with various points on it, but your school would have the ultimate decision about where you are on those points.
I'd like to ask, do you get paid for 12 months or only the school days you work? No, you are paid as a full-time unqualified teacher, so you're paid for the whole year. So you're even being paid during those long summer holidays. Yeah. Could I ask a school I'm familiar with if they would employ me for this apprenticeship? I think that's a great place to start. If there's a school you already know, or they know you, you may have done some volunteering there, you may be a former pupil there, you may have connections because you know people involved with that school. I think that's a good way to approach them in the first place. So yes, absolutely. I would advise you to go ready with as much information as possible. You could perhaps direct them towards our webpage so they can read up about it. Sarah, is there anything else you would advise with that?
No, nothing to add really. All the things that you've said. Yeah, ask them, nag them, ask them to get in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember that schools are busy places. Just because they don't get back to the one email you sent and it went to the, the school office, doesn't mean they won't be interested. You might have to be a little bit, persevere a little bit, and you might have to follow things up with a phone call or a visit. So yeah, be prepared to kind of be a bit persistent, because schools are great places, but they're very busy places.
Julie, can I just jump back to that question about working in a high school? I should have made really clear that obviously to teach in a high school, you're going to need that subject expertise. So Julia said we're developing the secondary route, so that might be the best route to go for somebody who wants to teach in a secondary school. But I just wanted to point that out. You can do this teacher degree apprenticeship and potentially apply for a job in a secondary school, but they're going to need evidence that you're a subject expert in the subject that you're applying to teach. Thanks, Julie.
Yeah. When is the deadline to apply? So we do not have a cap on numbers. We will take as many people as we possibly can on the course. You can apply now. We've been open for applications since October, and we don't intend to close applications until the end of June or the beginning of July. The reason we do have to close them at that point is that because this is an apprenticeship, there is a set there's quite a few different stages we need to go through in terms of onboarding and registration with the university. So we need to allow enough time for those things to happen. So you've still got plenty of time. And what's different about DMU compared with other providers? Does anybody particularly want to answer this one, or do you want me to answer it? Rachel.
I mean, what we know is that we are one of the newest. That there are only a few other providers providing this particular apprenticeship route at the moment. And what we know and what we really are very proud of is the quality and the in-person teaching and development that we do that with. So there are some other apprenticeships of this nature across the country. Some of them have other online aspects and remote aspects to them, but we're very proud, and we know that it makes it quite a commitment, but we're very proud of the way in which this apprenticeship works. So I think that's slightly different to some of the other providers that are around at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think when we were putting the programme together, all of us were very keen that we didn't want to compromise on the quality of the degree. So the focus is as much on getting the degree as it is on getting the qualified teacher status. And I think, Lily, I might call you in here, really. We were very keen as well for the cohort to have kind of peer support with each other and to kind of get to know each other. I don't know if you can say something about that.
Yeah, so before the uni term started, it's in about October, I think, when uni term starts. We spent a few Fridays at Skip with the other 14 of us on the TDA this year to really get to know each other, because for us, we're split into the Monday, Tuesday and the Thursday, Friday group. So I'm only actually with one of the TDA on a Monday and Tuesday. So I've really bonded with that TDA really nicely. We don't really see the others that often because we're at uni at different times. So to have that time with Skit at the beginning of the year, and we have like them drip fed throughout the year now as well, it's been really nice to catch up and see how everyone else is going and how they're staying organised with the course as well.
Yeah, and you have a WhatsApp group, and I think you're all there to kind of support each other. And I guess over the 4 years, you'll get to know each other better and better as time goes on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is the application process? Are there any interviews or assessments? Rachel, this is to do with application.
So you apply through something called the Get Into Teaching website. There's a portal. We will give you the link to that, etc. So don't go searching for it if you don't need to. But that process brings you through to us. If you have an employer and we look at your application and we think, yep, there's potential here and the employer is supportive, etc., we will invite you to interview. There is a presentation as part of the interview. It's a 10-minute presentation. usually to do with something like, what does a good lesson look like? Something like that. But that, yes, that's the interview I mentioned before. We will have you, and that has both colleagues from SCIT and from the academic team, so we are able to look at all aspects of your application.
Yeah, I would just say as well, and Stephen will no doubt confirm this, that you make the application as the apprentice, but we can only go so far with that. We have to have the school side of things confirmed as well. So Stephen does an eligibility check meeting with the school, and then we proceed when that's all gone through with inviting you for interview and things like that. I have contacted a school that I'm familiar with, but they have said they do not take apprentices, so I'm not sure what to do. I think in that circumstance, if they haven't really given you any explanation as to why not, then it doesn't sound like a school that's particularly open to sort of this kind of program. I would suggest contacting other schools, perhaps, you know, like ask to go and do some volunteering in some local schools. You know, even if you can't make it during the daytime, if you could go to an after school club or something like that, go and see and get a feel for the school. You'll get a sense of whether you think that's the kind of place that you would want to actually be an apprentice at. So it's not just whether they'll take you, do you want to commit to working in those places for 4 years? So
I think that's really good advice, because from a school perspective, you want to know what you're committing to as well. So Lily Kate was here, and that's why we were able to say yes. And I was approached by an ex-student as well, who also asked the same sort of question. Cameron, unfortunately at the time we'd already appointed, but it's a case of you do have to ask, get familiar with the school, get into the schools. That is the trick, and I completely agree, because like I say, it's an investment for the school as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of the cohort we've got at the moment, a lot of them were TAs in their school already, so they were kind of very well known to the school, and then the school could see their potential. We've got a couple who were working in sort of a sports coaching, doing that kind of thing as well, again, so they knew the school knew them already. So if you're getting lots of no's, then I recommend applying for some kind of support role or teaching assistant role for a year, first of all. Yes, you do have to attend sessions in person. We think that's a USP of our course, really. You get to know us very well. We get to know you. You get to know each other on the course. So we do ask that people attend in person. And for that reason, we do ask that your school is no more than about an hour, maximum an hour and 10 minutes commute from De Montfort University. So we're in the centre of Leicester. You have to come onto campus, but also we need to be able to get out to visit you in your school as well. So if you're too far away, that makes that very difficult for you and very difficult for us. We do currently have a student who lives a little bit far out, and she chooses to stay the night in Leicester. So your workshops are on consecutive days. So she comes in on a Thursday and she stays the night in Leicester, so that she's there ready to go on a Friday, and she goes home on a Friday afternoon. But really, we would like you to be within an hour's commute of us. Can I do the course over 3 years instead of 4? Rachel? I know we get this question a lot, don't we?
Technically, there is a possibility that we can look at your recognition of prior learning. However, the reality of that is that this is just not doable over 3 years, because in order to get the whole of your degree in and all of your QTS, both readiness and your QTS skit work, if we squidged it into a three year program, you simply would probably explode. You wouldn't be able to take all that on board, but also, you know, we have to have some kind of security, and your schools have to have some kind of security that you're not just going to, for instance, get your degree after 3 years and then say, well, actually, I didn't really want to be a teacher anyway, so I'm going to go now. So there has to be that balance across the whole piece, really, and it is in very much from, I think, in the apprentice's interest that you have that amount of time to both build your academic and your degree side of things, but also build up those experiences and those what we call the KSBs, those teacher standards that Sarah was talking about earlier. So it seems like a long time, but believe you me, it will go quickly.
Okay, well, I think that was the last question. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's contributed. Thank you very much to Lily and to Mark. I know you're very, very busy, so really appreciate the time you spent talking about the course. It's also very nice to hear such favourable things about it. So thank you very much then to Sarah, to Rachel and to Stephen and to Megan for organising this for us. And do get in touch if you have any more questions. Goodbye.